Hi there, I'm John Henry Binder, and I'm a co-founder, owner of Venice Duck Brewery. I'm also a bartender at James Beach in Venice, California. It's been a staple in the LA restaurant bar scene since 1996, 24 years, and I've been there for all of them pretty much. So I came to LA, I'm actually from New York City and LA. Grew up in New York City the first 12 years of my life, and then Los Angeles. After that, UC Santa Barbara, I went to college up in Santa Barbara, which was great. But after the college experience, I came back to LA to pursue film acting and be involved in the film business. But it's funny, along the way I started waiting some tables, and then I got behind the bar and quickly learned that I liked being behind the bar and being a bartender and the interaction with everybody. I got hired at James Beach, which was opening in a spot that had been the West Beach Cafe. And the two owners took it over in the 90s, James and Daniel, and started James Beach. Really, that's where I just kind of started to really cut my teeth as a bartender. A lot of the younger people started going there, and there was another bar restaurant up the road called Hal's Bar and Grill in Abbot-Kinney. And that's kind of where we would go. I would work and then I'd go there after, or vice versa on my nights off. Hal's had really quite a night scene. And that's actually where I met my beer partner, Christian Warren. I actually had the honor of being voted the #1 bartender in LA in 2017 by LA Weekly. So that was really exciting. Over the years, I certainly have now focused on drink making. But it's really changed also in that, the mixology craze has taken over, where you're creating this, experience within each drink. We were at the forefront of making mojitos. It was a big Cuban drink that was kind of a big craze in the 90s, but we were using fresh lime juice, and we were using, cane syrup that we made from sugar and fresh mint. I've always been inspired by watching. I'll go to bars and just watch other people's approach to making drinks and what they're doing. And again, they've now gotten into this thing where they're lighting different woods and smoking glasses and stuff. I think that's wonderful. I don't really think you necessarily need to do that, but you can, again, you bring your own stuff to the table. And at the end of the day, whatever you can do to highlight the experience and kind of accentuate the spirit and accentuate the liquors that you're using, I think those are all really, really cool ways to approach. Years ago, when I started bartending, I would stand there and there would be 6 to 12 customers there, and I was kind of on stage, and so you would engage and talk to everybody. Now, the phones, everybody, it will come to a bar, order, and then they're on their phone. So you're like, hey, I'm here, but the phone is kind of taken over as the centerpiece. So I do like to kind of play with that a little bit and get people to get off of their phone and talk to me. So yeah, at some point I realized also I had been standing behind this bar for a long time, and I started thinking, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to have my own brand, something that reflected not only, just a beer or a spirit, but me. And my good buddy Christian, 2008, maybe 2009, he reached out to me and said, hey man, the beer world's really changing. And I had noticed that also, where there was a sophistication that had started taking over beer drinking and the beer drinking culture. And here we were in Los Angeles, and we started to talk about, hey, let's start to think about something a little more sophisticated than some of the beers that were in the market. We had always enjoyed Sierra Nevada, was an ale that we drank back in the day together. So Christian, who had opened Bar Melody and was really into, he'd opened another business, he was really into, putting an idea into action, said, hey, let's start to work on making a beer. And so we brewed some beer. There was a guy that we were working with I was working with at the time, and he was also into making a ginger syrup product, a ginger puree called Elixir. He knew how to make beer. So Christian and I went to his apartment in Santa Monica, I'll never forget it, and we got all the stuff and all the ingredients and the hops and everything, and we brewed our first batch of beer. Christian and I were really excited about it, and it was really, I do remember that when we tried the beer, we were sort of like, it's not that great, but we were so proud that we made it that we, of course, drank the 24 bottles of it that we had. So we started to put 2 and 2 together, and we started to raise some money, and we came up with Venice Duck Brewery. The ducks were a great kind of figure for us, because there's the canal system in Venice, And there's always these families of ducks that you'll see when you're walking in the canal. We had a friend of ours who was a bartender at the time who went to a party in the canals one night, and as he came out of the party, it was probably 4 or 5 in the morning because he had been bartending then after the shift, and it was a cold like November night or something. He like kind of lied down next to the canals to take a little moment, and I guess when he woke up there had been all these ducks that were embedded on him for warmth. And so he woke up to these ducks, and that story kind of was like wildfire. We all started telling that story around the bars, and we thought that was hysterical.
One thing John and I have been talking about a lot lately is how much beer has flooded this market. And there's only so much shelf space and so many handles. And honestly, when you go into Ralph's or Vaughn's, Bristol Farms, whatever, you see the same beers, the big boys. It's really hard for the small craft breweries to get on their shelf. And what's lucky for us now, jumping into this new category, is there are some of the big boys that have already put their hat in the ring. Like Anheuser-Busch, they're Bon and Viv, they're branding completely different. Sam Adams is putting one in, Oscar Blues is releasing one. And so, but these are all going to be like national brands, and there's not a regional California brand yet. And so it's kind of like it's a foot race, but it's also an exciting time with our distribution, which is a Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits. Basically, they're in every single bar, and they can get us into every retail chain that there is, as long as we do our homework, our branding, our social media, and just start creating that demand and that excitement for it.